David Ornstein has revealed that only 2 players are seen as untouchable at Manchester United. Ruben Amorim is fuming with the players, even more so after the fantastic performance against Liverpool. Victor Osimhen is determined to join Man United, and Amorim is willing to break his non-aggression pact with Sporting. All this plus more in today's video that will keep you right up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So let's go through firstly. In fact, let me know in the comments how you're feeling after yesterday's result and performance. I thought we played really well. I genuinely did. It's, really weird to be sat here thinking and being kind of gutted that we didn't beat Liverpool, considering the position that we're in, the results that we've had recently, the performances we've had recently as well. And I find myself today actually a little bit gutted that we didn't win. Draw probably a fair result on reflection, but I felt we were really good. And we'll go through some of the kind of comments and some of the reactions as well, because there's a really similar theme that's been said, not just by Amorim, but also Fernandes and Martinez after the game as well. But let me know in the comments below how you're feeling after yesterday's result and performance. Love to know your thoughts on the match. So let's go through to it. So Ruben Amorim said, I think it's very clear when we are focused, when we fight for every ball, when we suffer, and we are tired when the game is finished, we are a good team. It is not the system, it's something else, and it's hard to understand even for the coach. We must be disappointed today, even more than in other games. Did I tell the players, and then he was asked whether he told the players that. He said, did I tell the players? He said, no, because I have to calm down to choose the right words. It's a difficult time, but it's complicated not to get angry. And I don't know if you saw this. This was in his match interview after the game, and he was absolutely fuming with the players, not because of the performance or the result against Liverpool, although I think he was angry with the result because we should have won the game. Or could have won the game, I would say. But he was absolutely fuming, more so with the previous performances, when he was like, why on earth have these players been playing so bad through those games? Because it's not to do with the system or the tactics, it's to do with their kind of mentality. And that'll be a theme that we kind of go through when we go through the rest of the comments. Amorim also said the important thing is to not forget tomorrow and to resume bad habits in the next match. I will remind these players that they have to suffer. It's part of our job. And he said, we always talk about the system, but you can see it's not hard. It's not about the system. It's about the mentality. Today was a good performance, but I want to tell my players that I'm very angry about the previous games. We have to do this every game. So he was absolutely raging about I said more so about the previous, and I kind of agree as well, because that's the frustration with United, isn't it? And these players is they'll turn it on and off like a tap, and it's kind of, obviously even more frustrating for him, and makes it like, well, you can see what we can do in this system. Why can't you do it every week? And we'd be in a much better position in the league if you could. And then on his press conference after the game, he had the following to say, I'm trying to push this team every day. Sometimes maybe it's not the best way, because I am always challenging these players in everything I do, because I feel that we have not just the players, but everybody at Manchester United is too comfortable. I think we need sometimes a shock. It's not about the system. Now, that was a really interesting comment from Ruben Amorim, saying that everybody at Manchester United is too comfortable, not just the players as well. And I kind of think he was referring to, the ownership and everybody obviously above him. Not necessarily Ineos, because they've only been here, 12 months now. But and I was kind of thinking in my head, is he on about, the fact that the recruitment's been very lackluster and we've not really, seen a massive effort to push for anything other than just settling for top 4? And Amorim's obviously a winner. He wants to win the league. And in order to do that, you need to make the tough decisions, like removing the players, even if they're popular players or good players, if they're not quite at that required level. Because it's comfortable for the owners to just say, well, it doesn't really matter. We can keep them because they're a good player and they'll get us in the top 4. And Amorim's like, no, everybody at the club is far too comfortable to be in the position where we want to be as fans, which is winning titles and back challenging for the league. Whereas the kind of business model, I think beforehand, the Glazers is just happy with top 4, happy with European football, and that's never good enough for Man United. And I kind of think he was making reference to that. I might be wrong. That's just my interpretation of his kind of words, but I don't know why he would say everybody at Manchester United is too comfortable, not just the players, as in, like, and specifically to say that as well. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, Bruno Fernandes had very similar words, actually, in his interview, where he said, "We can't be satisfied. I'm pretty upset. If we can show this at Anfield, why can't we do this every week? We need to be aware that we need much more from ourselves." And he actually kind of criticised himself for giving the ball away as well. So, which is even madder, that he knows that he gives the ball away too much, yet he still continuously does it. But I thought Bruno had an outstanding game yesterday. Yes, there were frustrating times where he could have kept the ball, but only a couple. Like, I did find myself shouting at the TV a little bit when I was like, "Bruno, man, just keep it." In that particular moment, I don't mind him doing like a if he's trying an over the top ball to somebody and it doesn't quite go off, I don't mind that. But it's at key moments and key positions in the pitch that annoys me when he gives the ball away. But I actually thought he had a really good game yesterday. But he was just as angry as Amorim, saying, "Why can't we do this every week? Because if we could perform like that every week, we wouldn't be sat in 13th in the league, that's for sure. We'd be much higher up in the league. And we're still not quite good enough or quite at the level, I don't think, to challenge for the title, but we wouldn't be sat, 13th, which is a really ridiculous position for us to be in." And then Martinez, same thing. He was asked why they performed that way, and he said, "We changed our mindset. I saw that everyone was confident today in the duels, the passes in defence. The last matches we were mediocre, it's true, and we recognised it today. They played very well." So big kind of thing coming out there as well with all of those statements: mentality, attitude, work rate, the basics. And Amorim was saying the basics beforehand, why he's kind of what he's been working on this week. And I'm happy that we didn't get beat and we didn't get embarrassed. I felt the performance was really good, as I mentioned. I thought we controlled the game very well at some points. Very few times I felt we were out of the game. We were combative, composed. I thought overall it was a genuinely really good performance. My only concern is that this team have performed like that in the past, even under Ten Hag. We had really good games and really good results, and the squad do have mentality issues. And, the Arsenal game next week, it's a cup game. It's a 50-50 game. I'm not overly bothered. Obviously, I want to win it. Don't take what I'm going to say out of context, that I want to win every game. But it's more about the Southampton game for me. That's the kind of key, because I've seen this squad and seen this team too many times have a really good performance and a really good result, and then just turn into turds again for the next 3 or 4 weeks until there's another big game. Then they'll switch it on again, then they'll switch it off. So I'll reserve judgment on the players until you kind of see that sort of effort and that mentality and that kind of fight that they showed yesterday on a consistent basis. And that's been the problem for United, and that's the problem that Amorim has to try and solve, because when they are on form, they prove they can do it against one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in Europe right now in Liverpool. It's just, we need to see it against Southampton. But overall, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think about the game and the performance. Be interesting to hear your thoughts. Right, let's go through some transfer news. So Manchester United's interest in Victor Osimhen is genuine. However, it is regarded as very complicated this window and may hinge on Marcus Rashford and or other players leaving. Now, that came from, I'm going to say, a decent source, not the most credible. So we'll take that one with a pinch of salt at the moment. Sources indicate that Victor Osimhen is determined to join Manchester United, with preliminary moves already underway to finalise the deal. Now, that came from another Nigerian outlet. If you've watched the previous video I did Saturday, there was loads of kind of tweets from, apparently Osimhen's camp. Did not come from, in my opinion, a very credible Nigerian outlet. This one got a few more followers, but I don't know the credibility myself. But again, with the Osimhen story, if these reports coming out, I just think that somebody with credibility would know about it by now. It don't even need to be like massively credible, like Ornstein or Romano or someone, but there would be, somebody, maybe a tier 2 journalist, would be picking up on all of this as well. But it seems to be coming from just random places, which is, obviously, in bringing you the news, we'll keep an eye on it, because, sometimes when I do my research and stuff, sometimes you can trace stories back to smaller outlets before they hit the kind of mainstream. So I don't want to dismiss it entirely, but not the most credible, or I don't know the credibility of that source, is what I would say with that one. And then Manchester United are internally exploring a strategy to sign Victor Osimhen this month. United's idea is to try agree a deal with Napoli for a discount on his £62 million release clause. United are serious about Osimhen and are ready to sacrifice Zirkzee to sign him. However, PSG are also moving for Osimhen. Again, came from like an Italian journalist, that one, who's normally fairly decent when it comes to Milan stories, but there's a story on Milan and one of our other players I'm going to go through in a second. There's an update on Zirkzee, which I'll run through in a second as well. But the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. David Ornstein, said the following: there have been reports of a swap deal with Victor Osimhen if he was brought back to Napoli from Galatasaray. But I think that's going to be very complicated, if at all possible. So Ornstein kind of saying, you know, what some of you have been saying in the comments really is that swap deals for Rashford are very complicated to do. And can it be done in a January transfer window? I highly doubt that's so complicated, because you've got obviously you've got multiple agents, multiple contracts you need to try and kind of resolve. How you get around the rules with FFP and PSR and stuff, I have no idea how that would kind of work from a financial perspective. Very complicated. So David Ornstein didn't dismiss it entirely, so there's something in that. He did say that there's talk of it, but would it be possible in January? So a couple more stories there regarding Osimhen. I would say take them with a pinch of salt for now, because like I said, I kind of think by now, if the interest was, I'm not saying the interest isn't genuine, we might be looking at Osimhen because it's an opportunity signing for a very good striker in a position that we do need to strengthen. That's relatively cheap. Do you mean £62 million for someone of Osimhen's quality is actually a good deal, considering we paid the same for Rasmus Højlund. But I would just want to see a little bit more credibility personally. But let me know what you think about the Osimhen stuff in the comments. Now, a player that we've just mentioned then, Joshua Zirkzee, already has a basic agreement in place with Juventus regarding signing for them. It again came from Gazzetta, who are a decent Italian source, suggesting that maybe there is something in Joshua Zirkzee and Juventus. A lot of those kind of reports are all, again, coming from Italian media outlets who have pretty much been linking Zirkzee to go back to Serie A since he signed for us. So, again, no smoke without fire. There is a bit more credibility on the Zirkzee one, but we'll need to kind of wait and see, because I don't think United are gonna let Zirkzee go, because Rashford's, obviously we've got the Rashford situation going on. Anthony might be leaving as well, and then Zirkzee, like, you can't do that without bringing someone in. So whether they're doing that, whether they're kind of in negotiations to maybe bring in somebody like Osimhen, and then they'll let Zirkzee go, who knows? But we'll keep an eye on it for you. But Ruben Amorim himself, now this quote's come out saying, I want to keep Josh Zirkzee because he gives everything. He's trying in training, but we don't know. The window is open. We'll see what happens. So apparently some quotes from Ruben Amorim effectively not dismissing the chance that he could be leaving in January neither as well. And that sounds to me as if it's one of those, if the comments to be believed, that where Amorim's like, look, I want to keep him, but maybe Zirkzee does want to go himself. There could be something in that, because I think if he was asked that question about Ahmad, for example, he'd say absolutely not, he's going nowhere in January. Or if it was Ugarte or one of his kind of like Lenny Yoro, someone like that, he's dismissing it straight away. He's saying, nah, no chance. So we get him selling that player. But he didn't kind of do that. He was like, we'll wait and see what happens. So that could be one to keep an eye on for this window. But let me know what you think about Joshua Zirkzee in the comments. Now let's go through the rest. So Ruben Amorim wants to sign Victor Gyökeres for Man United in January, which would break his non-aggression pact with Sporting that came from a Portuguese outlet. I don't know the credibility of it. It was reposted by some credible places, though, so I'm going to assume fairly decent. The non-aggression pact is that when Amorim obviously came to United halfway through the season, there was apparently a gentleman's agreement that he would not come back in the January window for any Sporting players. But, you know, considering the results, the performances and stuff like that as well, according to that report, that he's willing to break that kind of agreement because we desperately need a striker or we need a forward. I just don't necessarily trust the credibility of the source myself personally, because I don't know them. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens on that one. Now, the Mirror was saying Gyökeres and Gonzalo Inacio are both high on Amorim's wish list. And iPapers also linked us with Gyökeres, saying Victor Gyökeres and Nuno Mendes are both on joining Manchester United. That should say both keen on joining Manchester United. Apologies for that one, which is yeah. I know some of you are for that in the comments, because I know some of you have been saying about Inacio and Mendes and Victor Gyökeres as well. I just can't see us, personally, I just can't see Sporting wanting to sell all their players in January. And the Gyökeres one, it just feels a little bit lazy. Nuno Mendes, I would definitely kind of think could be something in that. I was speaking to my brother-in-law the other day, and we were kind of having a bit of a catch-up around it, and I might do this in a video if there's like a bit of a lull in news and stuff, but it's a transfer window, so there's so much noise going on around transfers and stuff, and not some of it's, some of it is BS, some of it might be credible. And the kind of deals I would maybe keep an eye on is Nuno Mendes, because that's got credibility. Zirkzee has also got credibility as well, because Fabrice Hawkins has linked us with Mendes. I think Romano's also made some kind of comments around it. Romano's linking us with Zirkzee a lot as well. I would say keep an eye on Casemiro to Saudi. Potentially, there's a lot of noise by some decent sources around that. Antony potentially going to Real Betis. I would keep an eye on that. And Rashford, they're the kind of, the deals that I think have some credibility in it. The Zirkzee one, potentially, but it just seems like a lot of noise at the moment from less credible places. But they're the kind of ones that I would keep an eye on at the moment. Mendes, Rashford, Casemiro, Antony leaving. I think they and maybe Zirkzee as the left back. So maybe those five kind of players or deals are from credible. I've got some credibility around them, is what I would say. But let me know what you think in the comments. Right, so Untouchables. So Alejandro Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo are not considered unsellable. That came from David Ornstein. He did an interview with NBC. To put it into context, what he was kind of speaking about was PSR rules, and he was speaking about Rashford actually initially, saying, look, he represents homegrown profit, which is a word that you kind of hear quite often. And then he said, with the PSR rules and the financial restrictions, so does Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo. So they could be considered unsellable because they're homegrown. Basically, he wasn't saying United are looking to sell them. He was just giving an example around, the PSR rules, that those two players would specifically, because they're homegrown, represent the best value for money for United to recoup because of PSR rules. But he did say that Amad Diallo and Lenny Yoro are the only players who are untouchable. What do you think about that? Let me know down below. Yoro and Diallo, the only players who are untouchable. I mean, I can see that. Again, it depends on the context around it. He didn't say anything around that. Is it just young players, or is it just players in general? Because I would throw Manuel Ugarte into that list straight away. Outstanding yesterday. He's such a miss when he's not playing in midfield. I personally would throw Kobe Mainoo into that mix as well as untouchable, and probably they're the only four at the moment. There's other players, that you can kind of let me know in the comments, but that's an interesting, and that's from David Ornstein as well. But love your thoughts. Let me know in below who else is untouchable at Man United. Ahmed just mentioned there is the third Manchester United player to score away against Manchester City and Liverpool in the same Premier League season after Wayne Rooney in the 04-05 and Van Persie in the 12-13 season. That's not bad company to be in as well. I mean, if he can go on and have even half of a career like Rooney and Van Persie, then he'll be a top player. But let me know what you think about Ahmed in the comments. And finally, you thought you were going to get away with Rashford stories, didn't you? But oh no. So I'm told the reports of offers being turned down from Saudi Arabia are not really accurate. Saudi have pushed back on that and said there are no offers. So David Ornstein saying that the Saudi Pro League are not even making offers for Marcus Rashford. If you remember back to last week, there were stories around a like £650,000 a week deal from three Saudi teams. Romano didn't kind of confirm though that there'd been offers, but was saying that Saudi, that like Rashford's not interested in Saudi, and apparently David Ornstein said the Saudi clubs have not even made an offer in Rashford. They're not interested in him. So whether that's because they've been told he doesn't want to go, so why would they waste their time trying to make an offer for a player that doesn't want to go there? That could probably put two together. That might be more likely what's happened. Manchester United want to offload Marcus Rashford in January on loan with an option to buy this summer. Manchester United have held talks with AC Milan in recent days surrounding Marcus Rashford. United are pulling the strings to offload him. That came from an Italian journalist. decent, but not the most credible. But DiMarzio, a little bit more credible, saying that AC Milan are very alert to Marcus Rashford's situation. The conditions of the move would have to be a loan deal with Manchester United participating significantly to his salary. Other clubs have also made moves for Rashford, so that's one to possibly keep an eye on, potentially a loan to AC Milan, with an option to buy, which kind of shows how desperate the club are to get rid of Rashford. If you're looking at loan deals now, just with an option to buy, if it was an obligation to buy, then maybe it could help, but an option to buy as well. It's same as what we had to do with Sancho in the end. If you remember at Dortmund, we had to do an option to buy. Or was it just a straight loan, actually? But anyway, so we loaned out Sancho with no obligation to buy, which meant he was coming back in the summer, and then we had to kind of scramble around trying to negotiate a deal, which we eventually did with Chelsea. But yeah, just kind of shows, that the club do want to get rid of Rashford. I think there's no smoke without fire regarding that. Obviously, him himself has come out saying that he wants a new challenge. He's not in any of the matchday squad, apparently, because he's ill. We had all the noise over the weekend as well, coming from Laurie Whitwell around, things going on behind the scenes. So, AC Milan could be one then throwing their name in the mix, or their name being thrown into the mix regarding Rashford. That'd be an interesting option. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.